Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our Minority Enterprise Development Celebration. Tonight, we'll be having a conversation about COVID-era lessons learned. My name is Heather Fay, and I am the Regional Program Director for the Roanoke Regional Small Business Development Center, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all to join us tonight, or if you're watching this recording at a later time, we thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started. Tonight, we have a couple of our colleagues with us tonight. We have Amanda Forster, who is our Regional Director, and we have Macklin Mosley, who is our Minority Advisor, as well as Kat Pascal, who is our Hispanic-owned advisor. And I'm going to turn the conversation over to Kat and Macklin to get us started tonight.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much, Heather, for the introduction. We are so excited that you are able to attend this Minority Enterprise Business Development Celebration, COVID-era lessons learned. Again, my name is Macklin Mosley. I am the Regional Minority Business Advisor for the Small Business Development Center. It's just a pleasure to have you all here with us as we get to talk with some incredible small business owners here in the Roanoke region about their own experiences throughout COVID and just the things that they learned, the things that they're still learning, and the things that they want to share with you to inspire and encourage you. So I'm going to go ahead and pass to Kat.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm Kat Pascal. I'm the Hispanic Business Advisor for the Roanoke Regional Small Business Development Center. I am also a business owner, so I'm really excited to get to chat with all of you. I've been on many panels with many of you, and learning from you all is always part of what keeps us going as entrepreneurs, I think. So thanks so much for being here. And I think we've got a good lineup of questions, and I think we're going to go back and forth between Macklin and myself, kind of like what we've done in the past. And so thank you again for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kat. And so, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get this party started. I hope you all are excited. I just want to first just introduce each panelist by name, and I'm going to let them take a moment, which is our first question, and let them introduce themselves in just a moment. But on the panel today, we have Denise Beltran. We also have Araceli Ruiz. We have Xavier Duckett, and we have Kirtesh Patel. And so I'm going to start with question number one. And I want to go ahead and start with Kirtesh, if you want starting. It is take a brief moment to tell us about yourself, what you do, and your why. Kirtesh?
My name is Kirtesh Patel. What I do is I do a multiple business. By trade, I'm a pharmacist and then MBA. So we have a management company called OMA Management. And in that management company, we do healthcare, retail, hospitality, some restaurants, and also rental properties and triple net lease. So we have a different wing of businesses under OMA Management. And why do I do that? I think it's challenging and enjoyable. I started my business a long time ago. I wanted to be a businessman since I was in high school in Lowell, Massachusetts, and that was my goal. So I went to big corporation to learn everything first, and then venture into the different businesses. So it's fun to be owning a business. A lot of stress, a lot of enjoyment, a lot of fulfillment, providing a lot of employment. So it's great to own your own business.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kirtesh. If we can go ahead and have Araceli next, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Araceli Ruiz. I work from 9 to 5 in my corporate job, which I'm a financial counselor for. And after 5 o'clock, I am an entrepreneur. I have a couple of businesses. I do woodworking, Creative Nest, and have a Etsy page, a storefront as well. But my focus today would be my business, Bold Browse, which COVID unfortunately had a hit on. So I'll be talking about that this time around. So thank you so much. And then why, what I do, an outlet for creativity, and like Kirtesh stated, fulfillment.
It's awesome. Thank you so much, Araceli. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say as well. All right, Xavier.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you. My name is Xavier Duckett. I own several different businesses. I'm here today representing Humble Hustle Clothing, which is a for-profit entity that I started after I started my nonprofit organization, which is the Humble Hustle Company Incorporated. The clothing line is just I would say it's just a niche of my passion and creativity that allows me to get creative, collaborate with different people in the community and the state, but also just to feel that creative passion of mine within the clothing area, within the clothing aspect. Why I do what I do, I do various different things, and I would just say I have a very giving heart, sometimes too giving, but I would just say I don't like being locked in a box. I'm very much adventurous, fast-paced, out-of-the-box thinker, and so creating my businesses and kind of knocking down doors and creating the lifestyle that I wanted, or creating the businesses that I wanted, was something that allowed me to challenge myself, but also just to unleash the creativity that I had without any restrictions, and being confined by certain rules and guidelines. I could kind of create the things that I wanted. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Xavier. And I love that. I think that that's always important, right? Like to be able to grow your creativity, go outside of the box. And it's
Sure.
cool because you can take that and then impact the people around you.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And Denise?
Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Beltran with the Spotless Cleaning LLC. I started this company with my mom. My mom, obviously, we are immigrants. We came from Mexico, and my mom was working a really hard job where it's kind of like a freezer. And I wanted to make sure that I know she came here for a reason, to give us a better life. So I wanted to make sure that she had something back for her. So I told her one day, I think you should just quit your job and we should start a cleaning company. And that's how we started. At the beginning, she was afraid, but I told her it's going to be fine. We're going to have, we're going to work hard and we're going to start from the bottom. Obviously, we started from the bottom. And my mom and my family are the biggest inspiration for me. And I want to make sure that I have 4 kids. I want to make sure that my kids know that whatever dream they have, they can accomplish. And I want to pass this business down to my kids when they get older. So I want to make sure that they know that it's okay if they move to a different country, as long as you work hard and accomplish all your dreams.
It's so beautiful, Denise. Thank you so much. Man, family is so important. I remember some of that. I believe you said a couple of those things in the last one with the generations that we had back in June. I think it's just so important. And it's so cool because I know this conversation for all of you is going to be a moment where each of you are going to be sharing things about family, about life, about, COVID, because the reality is that a small business isn't just a business, right? Like it's a part of your life. And so we are excited and we're looking to learn so much more today. And so I'm going to pass the second question on to Kat, and we'll go ahead and get into these questions.
Awesome. So obviously we're talking about what's happened during COVID. We're still in COVID times, but the first question is, what were your initial thoughts as these restrictions were coming about, as things were going to start changing actively for your business? And what was the most difficult moment for you as a small business? So maybe you can tell us a little story about a difficult moment during COVID at the beginning of your business. And I'm going to direct that question to Kirtesh.
Yeah, it was scary, right? You heard this, world is ending and people are dying and what can we do being in a healthcare business? So you're afraid first, you don't want to get out. I own a lot of business that are essential business. So we have to be there, a pharmacy or hotel or convenience stores where people need to get a gas. And it was almost that. And so first thing I did, if I'm going to ask any of my employee to be out there, I'm going to be out there first. And you get out and you go to work. You're afraid that what you're going to bring home. You're afraid for all your employees because they stayed with you. I have a lot of employees who's been with me for a long time, some 20, some 25 years. So you're afraid of all their families. You're praying for the world. You're praying for the country to get better because, you know, at least I have a job to go to and do something, but some of them people didn't have a job. You know, you talk about people who are in other businesses or staying home. Luckily, government came up with some relief, but before that, it wasn't that. So you just don't know what's going on. So you're afraid and you're still doing your part of duty. Other thing that in pharmacy we were scared of, that a lot of people want that medications immediately because people are thinking, let me get a zinc, let me get these malaria medications, and they keep calling and we don't have it. So it really was scary. It was time that we were not sure what's going to happen, a lot of unknown. But then I think 1 or 2 months, you know, we got to get some PPP material was also, you know, or protective gear, you know, mask was simple thing, hand gloves, alcohol. So we couldn't get any of that. Whole day I was calling all the different wholesalers and in China and everywhere to bring this in and trying to figure out what can we do for the community? What can we do for, and that time, I think the part of business was not there. It was amazing how you just shift from being a business person to a community person and just to help the society. So it was like, can we get this stuff? And once we get it, how fast can we deploy to somewhere? You know, if you're going to the police stations and giving out this stuff and trying to make sure that we all survive. So it was very vulnerable moment. You know, you start thinking, it's not everything, it's not business. You know, all of a sudden you get these realizations, hey, this could end anytime. And unfortunately, it did for some people, right? It did end for some people. And you start, so it's reflecting back, it was really scary moment. And for me, it was that scary. And it's changed the way I do business today. It definitely did change. It's put everything in perspective of what we do and why we do.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Being in healthcare, being as part of that essential field, I can just imagine how you were feeling and throughout. So how has it changed, or how you said you've changed doing business, or it changes the way you do business now? Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. You know, we always very responsible citizen and community driven businesses and did a lot of charity work. But you start thinking a lot of things with it's not going to be exist all the time. You know, there should be a purpose of what you do, and you start feeling, okay, if you start actually understanding more people too, if you think of it, where they're coming from and what they are saying, why they are saying, because you haven't seen this part of it when people lose their loved ones or they're in certain age. You know, somebody's 60 years old and all of a sudden they want to retire now because they think, you know what, I don't need to work. Other thing that we realize, and some people also realize, is not how much we think we need so much stuff to live, and all of a sudden COVID taught us that we really don't. You know, there are a lot of stuff we do without a lot of money. Me and my family, we also, you know, weekends when we were close, we went to a lot of hikings and did a lot of stuff too as a family, a lot of walking out, a lot of natural activities that have not done and didn't cost any money. It was a lot of fun to have been there and doing that. So, and fortunately, those things continue now. It didn't stop. I mean, it's not as much, but we still walk, we still spend more time. That is just not require a lot of money. It doesn't require for me to go to a different country to go vacation now. You know, in Roanoke alone, there's a lot of beautiful trail. There's a lot of hiking places there. We discover, I've been in Roanoke for almost 20 some years, some of the things I have not done. And then I would be able to do all that. So it did really change in that perspective.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I think it's that little silver lining that everybody talks about, right? Like, as disconnected as we were, all of a sudden we found our ways to connect and communicate a lot more and find these authentic and more ways to connect. And so I just think that's fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing, Kirtesh. Xavier, I'm going to direct the same question to you. So the question, I'll go ahead and say it again. Beginning of pandemic, what were your initial thoughts? What did you think? What were you thinking about your business at that time? And then what was some of the most difficult moments for you during the beginning and then transitioning into, you know, the flow of what was our new normal?
For sure. Yeah, so I would say it hit me in different capacities. Again, so I own 3 different entities. So when it hit, it was in March. So when we initially got shut down, it was in March. So that took us out of the schools. So that stopped some of the business that I did in the schools with our contracts, and then just not being able to physically go into schools and you can't see the kids. So that kind of stopped some things with our team. And it stopped us being able to pay some of our team. So it's kind of trying to figure out how to maneuver within the virtual world of what we do, and making sure that the at-risk youth that we provide groups to are still being provided for. So that was a little bit of maneuvering of like, how do we remotely even like capture these kids, that vulnerable population, and make sure that they're still okay. So that was a lot to deal with. With the clothing side, the retail, we had a physical shop at the time. And so that paused immediately because nobody could come inside. So we had to maneuver really quickly of like, how do we go from this retail location of having people come in and shop and that physical experience to turning into strictly online, and capitalizing off of the online sales. We did it. And we ended up turning our physical location into a pop-up shop. So as things started to like lighten up, our pop-up shop was able to be pushed to the community, and people could rent out the pop-up shop for their clothing and kind of see what that physical experience would look like. But they didn't have to sign a whole lease for a brick and mortar. They got to just see it for a weekend and then go back to the online. So that was that. And then for the nonprofit, nothing really changed except for we did more, right? So like, since everybody was inside, everybody wanted to get outside. It was perfect timing for our outdoor program where we were taking kids outdoors. It was the absolute perfect time for that to kind of like launch, or I would say to propel at that time, because everybody wanted to be outside. And so that vulnerable population that we had already worked with, those kids that we were already working with, finding the transportation, finding the food, finding the volunteers wasn't as hard at that time to get them outdoors, to get them on hikes, kayaks, and things like that were safe. We had to be socially distant, but at the same time, it was almost like a blessing in disguise, the way we had to maneuver. So I think I answered the question. I think
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems like you went virtual, you had more events, you were even more driven to do things in the community. I see a common theme there with what Kirtesh was talking about. And so as entrepreneurs, I think that we're always trying to give back, right? And so I think that's a common theme that we continue to hear. And I think that's fascinating what you were able to do, especially with the underserved and vulnerable community that you deal with, that you were still able to serve them. Thank you for answering. Araceli, I know that things were a little bit different for you during the beginning. I don't know if your business was up and running just yet, and then transitioning throughout that. What were some of your initial thoughts and maybe some difficult moments in your business?
Yeah, so I have like the not so nice side of COVID. I'm glad that Xavier and Kirtesh had the positive side and overcame adversity. Unfortunately, at the moment with my permanent makeup business, it couldn't resist the windfall of what COVID had brought. And some of that had to do with just like the logistics of it, like having to apply for, the business license and that taking forever, and, just wanting to do things the right way. I had a lot of support from family and to have clientele, but because everything was so backed up, it was just not a good time. I think that what I ended up doing was I overextended and I didn't plan well. I took out a 6-month lease. Fortunately, it was only 6 months because I knew that with COVID, it could just go in any direction. So in a way, I wanted to still prepare. And thankfully, I'm not stuck in this building, for the next 6 months, a year, whatever. It was really scary, but it was a risk that was calculated. I didn't just jump on it. I knew that when I was going through my certification, that it was something that I could continue to have. So if in the future I wanted to work for somebody else and it didn't work out for myself, I could still have that. I invested in myself. I had invested in knowledge, and the whole brick and mortar thing just didn't work out, and that's okay, because I learned from it, and I'm here to, talk about it and be open about that. It's not always sunshines and butterflies. We'll go through some stuff and we dust ourselves off and we get back up and we keep going.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. All sides, all different dynamics to entrepreneurship for sure, especially during COVID. Denise, last but not least, how about you? And I can repeat the question. So what do you find was the most difficult, or what were you thinking during the news at the beginning of COVID? And what were some difficult moments for you to navigate in your business?
So at the beginning of COVID, it was really hard for me because you think about your mom. Obviously, my mom was really scared, and I didn't want to put her in that situation where she was going to get sick. And not only that, but it was just really hard for us. We had other employees that we have to lay off, and they didn't have a job at that time. So then we also struggled trying to find cleaning products because everything was gone. There was no Clorox, there was no wipes. So we had some that we have a little storage, but other than that, we were struggling just, cleaning products, making sure that our customers feel safe when we were going to go and clean the house, and that we also feel safe. One of the things that happened is that when the vaccine was happening and all, they asked us to make sure that we showed them the card that we were vaccinated, because that's how some of the customers felt safe. And not only that, but we also felt safe going to a house. But it was risky going to a house, not knowing if because a lot of the symptoms were not showing right away of COVID. So you didn't know if you were going to a house to clean and then you were going to get sick at that time. And then we were thinking about bringing those virus home to your kids and your family, and how we're gonna, how our immune system, how we were gonna deal with that.
Yeah, scary times for sure. And also the shortages, right? Kirtesh touched on this, you're touching on this, the shortages of the supplies that we weren't able to get during that time to continue our business, right? To stay in business. So, and do it safely. Well, thank you all so much for answering. But Mac, I'm going to bounce it back to you so you can go on with the second question.
Yep. Thank you so much, Kat. I appreciate that. And thank you all so much for sharing those stories. It's so interesting to hear that we all were in the same pandemic or are, in some ways, and yet our stories are so different as small business owners. It's always just so interesting to hear these stories. And, it's kind of like, where were you, right? Where were you at and how did you handle it? And so, yeah, again, thank you all for being transparent about your business and just where you were personally. And so we're going to go on to the next question, which some of you already answered in the first question. But this question is, in spite of those difficulties, right, in what way did you bounce back? And are there adjustments you made to how you do business that you have now kept? I would love to start this with Xavier, because I'm thinking about just what you mentioned with the pop-up shops. And just the idea of even online, and I would love to hear just your side. How did you keep some of these things? How's that going?
Absolutely. I love this question because I think a lot of times it can be seen as that it's just like a breeze. It's oh, push through COVID, they're good. And it's actually no, nobody really knows the hardships or some of the pushbacks. One of the biggest things that I think I fell into was we have a nonprofit, and the nonprofit was able to apply for different grants. And, during the pandemic, of course, people that can give gave. And so they were able to like give to the foundation and give to a nonprofit because they could see the work we're doing. But, I have a for-profit business as well. So as a young entrepreneur, like there's funding that's needed. And a lot of the grants and things that were coming out, we weren't able to get because I was on a board with the city. So it stopped me from being able to get any type of funding. So that pivot was super, super crucial. It was very creative. But I think that's what has allowed me to say, hey, look, I have stake in this game, and nobody's going to be able to pull me out of this. If COVID can't get me out, then nobody's going to be able to pull me out of this thing, because that was really hard to like know that other businesses were being able to like stay, somewhat level because of, hey, they can apply for a grant with the city and it's like free funding. And we weren't able to get any of that stuff. So it was like legit hustling, like finding any way to sell shirts, finding any way to get somebody in here to rent the pop-up space, which would, allow us to pay for the rent for another month. And I think it kind of showed, like I was able to kind of look in the mirror to see how much investment I had in the community as well, because I didn't want to just up and leave the space. I knew what we provided for the community, and I knew that at some point this would be not over, but I knew at some point that we would break through, and then the community would be looking for that same type of love, that same type of investment, those same type of initiatives. And I wanted to make sure that we could show other community members that we're right here, that you can make it through. Things are gonna happen regardless. That's just the name of the game. But it is about how hard you really, really want it, how bad you really want it. And a lot of the times, one door can be knocked on and be closed and be locked, but there's usually a window or a back door or something somewhere else. It just depends on, how hard you're willing to go and find those open spaces. And I think the other thing was I've kind of found my space as far as a young entrepreneur in the city, of being able to know that a lot of the times those doors that I'm able to kick down provide that platform for another young entrepreneur to be able to walk in. And I can teach those things, like kind of like I'm saying now, those experiences, so they can come in and not get burned, but they can say, okay, X, how did you maneuver through these times? Or how did you get connected with this person? Or how did you do this? I don't know it all, but I'm willing to knock on the doors and kick down the doors that I have to be able to provide people in the community that want to do the same thing, or that are just looking to be better, some type of chance.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. That's incredible. It just makes me think of the fact that our lived experiences are always, sometimes we think about just what we go through, right? And just the things that we do. And then it's like, but it's cool though, because like our lived experience then allows for us to inspire others or show that, hey, I'm actually invested. Like I went through this for you. Right. And so because of that, and honestly, what's cool is that those things like that then further help your mission and vision as a company and as a business, because they're on your journey. They see what you're going through. They see what you've experienced, and they say, man, this person's still here, helps build that credibility, and people say, I want in. So right. I think that's super, super, super awesome. Thank you, Xavier, for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So the next person I want to ask is Araceli. Would you mind sharing, just like in the midst of this difficulty, right? Like in spite of all this that happened, what way did you bounce back? And furthermore, are there adjustments that you made? I know you mentioned the leasing space and all those things, and I would just love to hear kind of like what adjustments you made past that.
Yeah, so it's still a work in progress. I'm not giving up. I'm doing more research. So I'm teaching myself patience and learning not to be upset at things not going my way. So my bounce back would be just learning from this journey. It's difficult to talk about, but it needs to be talked about. That not it's not always going to things aren't always going to be the way that you planned. As much as I wanted this to be super successful in my mind, I had, it all planned out. I could see the vision. I could see my name in lights, but it didn't turn out that way. So I'm still going through the journey. I'm hoping to learn from my people that I network with, like be open to advice, which, sometimes I'm a little stubborn. So I think that I know what I'm doing, but there's an opportunity for me to listen to what other people have to say, especially those with experience that are able to share. How can I do better? And yeah, I mean, I'm not giving up. I know that there's going to be other opportunities. I will say that one of the things that I could have probably done a lot better was create a better business plan. I know that the SBDC has an awesome entrepreneur guidebook that I should have probably focused on a little bit more on. And this wouldn't have blindsided me as much as it did. So yeah, I'm all ears for anybody that's, has any advice and opinions on how to move forward. Because as we know, it's still the COVID era. It's not over yet. Who knows when it'll be over? So learning during this time is probably really going to help me grow as a person. Because if I, like Xavier said, if he can get through this, then ain't nobody stopping him. Ain't nobody stopping me. So we'll see where it goes.
No, honestly, Araceli, I love that. Just because the couple of reasons. One, it doesn't matter if your business if you've been in business for 2 months or 2 years or 20 years, like learning never stops. And for anyone to be at that spot, it's always good to just continue to learn, right? This is even something I myself am learning, whether I'm a minority business advisor, I'm learning. Whether I am, in my own business, I'm learning. It's always beneficial to be learning. And then number two, don't stop. I don't think that there's any reason to, right? Like, I think there's it can be at times, but at the end of the day, who knows, what could happen. And so I'm very inspired by your willingness to not give up on your business. Is something that you're passionate about. And so thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Denise, would you mind sharing? And the question again is, what way did you bounce back? And are there adjustments you made that you now use, right? So like adjustments that you made to your business that you now keep and use.
So I bounced back when I started appreciate life. When this happened, you really starting to appreciate your life, the life of the people around you, because you just don't know what's going to happen, because that happened out of nowhere so fast and people were scared. So it's kind of like learning bad things can happen and you just have to try to make the best out of it. I think one thing that I can do better is taking advice and taking opinions at that moment. I think you're not only financially hurt, but you are also emotionally hurt by everything that it's happening. And if you survive COVID with your business, you know that you can survive anything that can happen, because that happened so fast. And we try to learn new techniques or trying to do new things for your business, because everybody was trying to survive. Everything was closed and we didn't have access with a lot of things. So we try to make the best out of it. The only thing that I can say is just that this made me realize that I have to work harder in my company and try to accomplish more of my dreams, and also be prepared next time financially and also with cleaning products.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Denise. Thank you. Yep. I always think about, so it's kind of funny. I think about the SWOT analysis, right? So the SWOT analysis is, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And one of the things I always think about is the weakness turning into the opportunity, right? So like a perfect example of that is Coca-Cola. When they first, not Coca-Cola, sorry, NyQuil. When they first started, they weren't NyQuil. Their NyQuil was really meant just to be a regular medicine like DayQuil. But the side effect is that it was putting people to sleep. And so they realized that's not good because that's not what we're doing. However, how can we utilize this and take advantage of this to our benefit? And so what they did was, of course, they changed some of the ingredients to be a safer way of putting people to sleep. But at the end of the day, they changed that, and now you have NyQuil. And so it's neat that you can learn in moments like this on how you can take that weakness, take that threat to your business, and even make it an opportunity for yourself and for your good. So thank you, Denise. Yeah, you're right. Like taking that learning and then figuring out other ways to keep going is awesome. All right, and then Kirtesh.
Yeah, we changed most. We found out a way to do things differently, like a lot of meetings that virtually, like what we are doing right now. So this is my 7th meeting of the day. I would not have done it if I had to go in person. All of those today, and so we are trying to taking that from weakness of not meeting in person to just what you just said, opportunity to do it virtually wherever it's possible. Now, we're not putting all 100% of our meetings to virtual, but they're only necessary that we will meet in person, or most of them work out thing virtually. So that's helping us a lot. We don't have a concept of working from home for a lot of people, but most people have come back to the company back. But we are looking at things. We worked on a telehealth that we still see some people virtually. Some of our physicians see them virtually, so that's helping saving travel. But overall, the business finds a way to work. I mean, we are all smart. We go to a lot of adversity. COVID was something completely unknown, but we go to a lot of financial up and down, environmental issues, labor issues, and we figure it out. Folks who did not figure out, like people like Kodak, they and if you don't exist. So we really adaptive to changes, and we are open-minded. And we suggest that all our companies, we got to adapt to new things as they're coming in, and at least try it. And that's how we do it. So a virtual meeting has really made us more productive. Like I said, I've been allowed to do a lot more stuff now virtually than I was not before.
Yeah, and you're right. Like the virtual move. I mean, not just in just many ways, it's just incredible. Like I have never. I always make the joke that I have never in my life in the past 2 years. I've never had so many online meetings in my life than I have in the past 2 years. Right. And yet at the same time, it's convenient for many people. It works for many people, especially because we're still figuring this thing out. And yet at the same time, businesses are still thriving in an online, and it's just showing where we could go next, to be honest, right? As a whole, like as a nation, when it comes to things like this. So I think it's really cool that you took advantage of those moments, and now you're still able to help clients and patients in ways where you couldn't meet them in person before. So that's awesome. Thank you, Kirtesh. All right, now I'll pass it to you, Kat.
Awesome. I've got a really good question coming up for you guys. So my question is pivoting. Like, think about as you're pivoting through your business the last 2 years. You're pivoting, but our question is, what is something you did that you wish you did differently? And if you were to do it all over again, would you change it? So as you're pivoting, what were some of your experiences during pivoting? But what was one decision that you wished you did differently? Xavier?
Something I did. It's honestly like the first thing that comes to my mind is to say like nothing, right? Like I'm where I'm at now because of the decisions I made, and I'm happy with my decisions, right? Like, so that's honestly the first thing that comes to my mind is to say, I think every decision in that moment, it's like your back is against the wall. So at that time, you're making the smartest decision, you seek wisdom, you seek wise counsel, you try to ask for help, but I think everybody's back is against the wall during that time. So it's hard to say I should have done this. Sometimes I wish I would have, maybe stepped off a board, and that would have allowed me to apply for certain funding. That is something that I battle with, is like, hey, am I useful on this board? Like, what, should I step off? But I chose not to do that because I was looking for more long-term. I traveled during COVID, so that was fun. I'm not. I don't know. It's hard. I'll be honest. I don't really have too many regrets. Maybe I'll say this. I wish during COVID I would have pushed more content, marketed a little bit more, because everybody is sitting at home during that time. That was the pivotal time that we'll never get back, to put like everything out there, get as much content as possible. The people that have like 150,000 followers or more right now, more than likely during COVID, they pushed a lot of content because it was a time where everybody was sitting still. And now everybody is like, has to be outside every day to get those experiences back. So it's hard to capture people's attention right now. So I would say that's the only thing I would say is probably been a little bit more fearless with content and pushing that marketing side of what we do and the things that we were doing, maybe even just the story, the day-to-day, to show people as a young entrepreneur, like, hey, this is how we're making it. And maybe we would be in a different space, but I can't say that I'm not thankful for where we are, and just to be able to like make it out, with scars and maybe a broken ankle.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, thank you for sharing. I think Fearless with Content is like the title of a workshop, by the way.
For sure.
I really, really love that, because I think a lot of us, I think back as maybe that could be one of the things that I wish I did more. I was becoming a little more fearless with my content, especially during that time. So Denise, I've got the same question for you. Do you remember a specific experience like during your business that you wish you had done differently as you look back, as the multiple ways I'm sure you had to pivot?
Maybe getting prepared next time. Also, this was just a learning experience with yourself and then the people around you. Just knowing that you just don't know what's going to happen next. And then I would love to change the things and also try to, like, that makes you even realize to try to get more healthy, it like differently, because of your health. And
Did I lose you? Did we lose Denise? Okay.
I believe we
All
did.
right. All right. We'll catch her as soon as she comes back. Kirtesh, I'll have the same question for you. Do you have a specific experience where you wish that you had done something differently as you were making pretty monumental moves in your business?
Like Xavier say, you think that you make all the decisions with the best information available at that time with the counseling, and hindsight looks a lot of things you think that have done differently, right? But you have a lot more information now. I think I'm very proud of the decision we made with having so many employees. I mean, in hundreds of employees, we haven't lost anybody due to COVID. So I think our safety measures, what we have done was pretty good. The employees supporting with each other was great. So we made the decisions based on current information that were available each time. Our challenge more was to how do we navigate folks who does not want to take a vaccine, and that's even though it was available, and that was challenging. Do we as an employer mandate that or not? And at some point we thought that we should mandate, and some point so that decision I wish I should have made it very clear at front, or allow that. Basically, I do wish that a lot of places who people have lost their life, we could have done something for them. But at that time, we were not even sure. I don't even know we had resources to do it. But we did. It's just we couldn't see it at that moment because we were so focused and busy every morning that is somebody going to have a COVID at the work? And if they do, how many people are infected? And if they're infected, how I'm going to provide the service next day because there's necessity. So that thought, you're constantly thinking logistic of it, and every decisions we made it feel like it was not right decision. Seriously, it felt like there could be something better there, but we made those decisions, and like somebody says that we should have better prepare. I wish that, but I don't think we would have. Nobody knew what to do. One thing that we did realize as a country as a whole, that we are a very dependable country. That we didn't have simple stuff that we could make here, just like mask, hand gloves, sanitizer, tissue paper. That has to depend coming from somewhere else. Luckily, one of my friend David Thornhill, he changed his textile company from making different gear to start making a mask. But you guys all know making a mask here is a lot more expensive. So I really wish that we go back as a country and learn stuff and allow some require essential item to be made here, even if you have to pay more and it's subsidized, and let small company like ours, or small entrepreneurs, either minority or non-minority, allow that government contract to start manufacturing that here. That's definitely something that we could have done or we should do if we're not doing that.
Wow. Yeah. You mentioned some really big challenges that we've faced as a country and as a nation that affected all of our businesses and all the backbone of the United States, the economy. So I can imagine what you were going through, and being better prepared. Yeah, none of us could have really anticipated this. So we all kind of have done what we could and navigated as best as we could. I think we I've asked everybody the questions. I don't think we have Denise just back yet. Mac, I'm going to bounce back to you.
Oh, did we ask Araceli?
Oh, Araceli. I'm sorry, Araceli. I got
No problem.
I'm sorry about that, Araceli. So same question to you, specific experience of which you wish that you had done something differently, and a specific thing that you might have done differently, perhaps the biggest challenge.
I would say a couple of things. I would have not overcommitted myself. I was making it like a one-woman show and trying to do the marketing aspect and trying to navigate through COVID and trying to do this, that, and the other. When I should have probably taken a step back and maybe consulted a friend that had that, experience, that I could have also helped them out financially. Also with marketing, honestly, and content creation, that was the perfect time to go at it head on and put as much content out there, regardless of the fact if I didn't have clients. Like, this is my day-to-day, this is what happens, and showing how you are as a human being going through a difficult situation. We're not robots, we're not superheroes where, yeah, this is nothing, I got this. I wish I would have shown the vulnerability that I had at the time, the struggle that was real, instead of just making it seem like, hey, everything's okay. I feel like the most successful people are the ones that show that vulnerability, that show who they are as a person, that their character comes out. So I would have changed that. It would have been the perfect time for that. I probably would have been able to hold on a little bit longer. But I've learned from that, and I'll just apply that next time I have an opportunity as an entrepreneur.
Awesome. Thanks, Araceli, for sharing that. I think something that we teach it, or we talk about when we talk about marketing, is putting yourself in front of your business and being authentic, and people fall in love with that. So you've got a good point there. Macklin?
Thank you, Kat. Also, I want to highlight a couple things that Araceli also mentioned that stuck out to me. That something about that we try to do here at the SBDC, or at least that we preach and aim to encourage others in. Well, one of those things is self-care, right? So like just making sure, because that was a time when COVID first hit, and it was just insane, right? So you had these, like, we didn't know, like, as everyone said, we had no idea what was going on. Just being able to take time to take care of yourself, right? In that same breath, like knowing yourself, learning yourself, as Araceli said, and as you just mentioned, Kat, just being transparent, letting people see you for you, and at the same time, self-care. And so I just want to encourage the listeners, those who are in attendance, just remember, you have this business, but grind culture isn't all there is. And so while we're back here, like, just making sure that you're taking care of yourself at the same time. And then number two, just remembering that if you do need advice, resources, or any of those things, I remember it was mentioned earlier by Araceli about the Entrepreneur Guidebook. Very, very, very good resource with a lot of tools in it, step by step to building your business plan. And so, and if you need any advice or any help, we're here as well as advisors to assist and guide however we can and however you need us, to be honest. So yeah, so definitely reach out, contact us. And I just want to go ahead and throw those out there. And some of that self-care, honestly, is coming to someone like an advisor like us, because you can't do it on your own. You can't do it all on your own, right? We need each other. And so our roles as advisors, and the Entrepreneur Guidebook allows you to actually breathe, and to be able to do the things that you would want to focus on one step at a time, and we can help you do that. Okay, and so the time is getting near to the end. And so I want to ask a question, and I'm going to ask Kat to end out with one more question. But the question I want to ask, because we've been talking about a lot about, like, okay, so this is kind of how I felt. These are the things, and they're not all, bad things, but I would love to have a moment where we talk about a positive moment that came up during this time. And so I want to start with, let's see, okay, so Denise is not, okay. So I want to actually start with Araceli. Would you mind sharing with us a positive and uplifting moment you experienced during this era?
Absolutely. Realizing that we all need to worry about our mental health, and surrounding ourselves with people that are willing to hold your hand along the way, business included. With me having to close my doors, I felt like a failure. It took a toll on my mental health. And I had family and friends that were there, that were supportive of, like, hey, it's okay. It's going to be fine. So yes, be that person when you see that, your fellow entrepreneur or friend or family member that is struggling. Be that friend to let them know that it's going to be okay, because we need it. We all need it. So, being there, being positive as it may be, staying positive, and reaching out to people like the SBDC, like you stated, like, it's really the best thing that you can do, and taking those lessons and like giving support to the next person, to your neighbor, someone that's starting their own business. Hey, I know that I failed, but guess what? It's going to be okay. I'm here to support you along the way so that I can tell you exactly what you're not supposed to do. So yeah, that's what I got to say. Stay positive.
Awesome. No, that's exactly right. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. Kirtesh?
Yeah, I see that's absolutely right. We got a lot of heart, and you start seeing your work family and your own family, where how everybody came together and supporting. I see a lot of people are not selfish. They were just trying to figure out and give. And you see as world completely differently. Before pre-COVID, there was a lot of notions of everybody's doing their own person or their own man, and when something like that hit, how we all come together, all the small community came together, country as a whole came together, and obviously nobody had the answer. We all knew that nobody had the answer, and everybody's trying to struggle to answer. And you will see that how quickly all this money came from governments or employment or anything like that. A lot of quick decisions were made. Both the parties as a nation came together. But personally, I really think that it really helps self-care. I strongly believe in caring, and I have four whenever I allowed to speak somewhere, I talk about four things, and that is number one, I talk about finance, then I talk about fitness, family, and faith. And I think those four things is in order, that you really have to take care of finance, whatever we need is important. But after that, why do we take care of finance? Because ensure that we have a good fitness, and we have good fitness, then we will take care of our family. And if your family is taken care of, our fitness is taken care of, our finance is taken care of, then we can really focus on faith that we really meant to do. And I see all four things happening during COVID. It's amazing. So again, we haven't lost anybody from our work family, so that was great. But I think it's positive that we came out now, and then also sad that a lot of people did lost their life, and then a lot of family got changed forever due to that.
No, thank you so much, Kirtesh. I like that. You said finance, fitness, family, faith.
Yes.
I'm going to remember that for myself. I literally started thinking, I need to make sure,
Me too.
right, seriously, right? I'm over here like, okay, from a finance,
Me too.
let me make sure that I'm consistent in that gym. No, but anyway, but it's seriously,
We'll
that's
credit
awesome.
you, Kirtesh, for sure.
Right. That's gonna be on a shirt. I'm just kidding. Cool. Thank you so much, Kirtesh. And Xavier?
Yes, I would say some of the positives from each like entity again would be for the school. Nobody really knows, but we ended up like running an actual school. So during when the schools got shut down, we ended up like actually using our space here at 11th Street and conducting an actual school for a whole year. So just imagine, some young entrepreneurs like being principals and custodians and lunchmen, I would say, and teachers and mentors at the same time. And I think that was something where we again were able to say, you know what, if our passion is truly just to love on these kids and teach love, we can do it in any capacity. And it doesn't matter the space, it doesn't matter where it is or how it is, we just have to figure it out. So that was a major positive that came from the school side. Just looking back and realizing, wow, we really ran a whole school, like we actually conducted a whole school. With the clothing, I think the partnerships, it really exposed what partnerships really look like, and that it doesn't matter how small of a brand you are. The power of partnerships can really like propel you into like a whole nother realm of business and of knowledge as well. I can't remember who spoke about like just diving into knowledge, but that was something that really propelled me into a whole nother level of knowledge with contractual agreements and budgeting and things like that I had no clue about. So we gained a partnership with Virginians for Lovers, and we're a super small brand, so that was super positive. And then I think for the nonprofit, just the exposure. We speak about it with all our programs. Exposure, empowerment, education are our three things. And just like Kirtesh said, he had his 4 F's. I have my 3 E's: exposure, empowerment, and education. And those are the 3 things across the board that I think I gained from COVID. And one of my cousins is he's up in New York, and he told me, he said there's always opportunity in crisis. And when he said that, it kind of stuck with me because it made sense. It's like, okay, during crisis, people either sink or they swim, and it sounds kind of negative, but if you really think about it, during crisis of any situation, there's always opportunity. There's opportunity to learn, there's opportunity to grow, there's opportunity to create, there's opportunity for so many different things, to love, all types of things. So empowerment, education, and exposure are my 3 things.
It's so awesome, Xavier, to hear those stories. Like seriously, and it's just cool because you're swimming. You know what I mean? Like the very thing you said. Like when it comes to small businesses, and sometimes swimming doesn't look the same for everyone, right?
sure.
Sometimes swimming is learning.
For
Kind of like
sure.
what Araceli mentioned. Sometimes swimming is, you know, financial, fitness, family, and faith, right? Sometimes swimming is these partnerships. Like it's so cool because again, it's this similar situation that we're all in, and yet our stories are also different, and yet here we are able to still impact and encourage every individual that's listening or anybody we come in contact with through those moments. And so yeah, I think it's incredible. And so I'm gonna just pass it on to Kat for the last question. So yeah.
So I wish I met you all over 10 years ago when I first started my business. I probably would have cried less and had a lot more knowledge and probably made a lot more less mistakes. So I want to thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise and your advice, because that's fantastic. What I'm going to ask is that, well, COVID is still here. It's not going away anytime soon. What would you encourage the next business owner with, knowing that this is a reality? And I'll start with Kirtesh.
I think we already adjust to COVID in a sense, just like many years ago when flu came in and we didn't have no idea. So there is vaccines available now. There's still going to have a lot of different things going to happen, or different variants going to come in. But the labor shortage is, I think, one of the adjustment is not due to COVID, but the labor shortage. How do we going to bring people back to work? It is one of those things that we have to face as the next business owner. There are millions of people are still not working because they have a realization of how this can end and how much time they have, so they didn't come back to workforce. So we have to find a better or smarter way of getting productivity done. Either it's technology or virtual or remote, whatever we think, or have less locations. Obviously, currently we're fighting a lot of inflation. The interest rate went up today, 75 basis points, going to go up again. So for small business, the cost of debt service is going to be higher. Getting a new loan is going to be more expensive. So you got to figure that out. How do you tackle that with what's going on with the interest rate and the inflation going on? So those are the things now we probably start thinking as a business owner, what can we do differently? And if we go to a recession, how that will look like financially for small business, because it's one thing that COVID is continuing, but that we start facing different challenges now. Some people are calling recession now, but we're not there yet. But the difference is a lot of consumers still have a lot of money to spend. I do see that within 6 months, either a lot of business transactions going to slow down just because of high interest rate, and people may not want to sell or want to sell but couldn't afford it. So we are focusing more on next year for recession, labor shortage, and inflations and high interest rate. Those are the 4 focus we are doing right now. We really, I think we already adjust to COVID at this point.
Solid advice. Thank you. Forecasting, that is definitely something business owners need to be doing right now as they get into their next business, for sure. Araceli, same question. What would you encourage the next business owner with, knowing this reality?
Yeah, like Kirtesh has said, we've been doing this for almost 3 years, so this is our new reality. Some things have not changed. I had mentioned that I'm also a financial counselor, and one of the important things to always talk to clients about is that emergency fund, 3 to 6 months. So it's almost the same thing with a business. Always have that plan ahead that, where is this going to, can I survive the next 3 to 6 months if this were to happen again, or if it were to get worse? So just, have your resources available. Reach out to those that are in the same boat, same situation, and just be prepared for that, because as we mentioned before, as much as we try to prepare for this, it was almost impossible because we didn't know what it looked like. Well, now we do. So with that, we can move forward knowing that this is as bad as it's going to get. So this is what I need to, this is the plan that I need to put in place for me to survive it for the next 3 to 6 months or year or whatever.
Awesome. Awesome advice. Thanks, Araceli. Xavier, what would you encourage the next business owner with knowing this reality?
It's kind of the same thing. It's just like if you choose to, I feel like if you choose to do business, just know that anything can happen at any time. And so look for longevity. So, have that cushion, that, that 3 to 6 months of savings. But also I would say too, kind of like what I said is in crisis, there's opportunity. That's another thing I was thinking about. And I would probably just tell the next person, don't look for handouts. And it can seem kind of harsh, but in reality, if you go into it, and I think that's something that I was looking for, is it's like, oh, it's COVID. Like, I'm a small business. Like, I've given back to the community. They should give me money. And it's like, well, no, that's not how it works. This is the thing that you chose to do, and you've set yourself up on boards, and you're not going to get a handout. You're not going to get this. So you're going to have to like put in the work, and you're going to have to get creative. And so I just kind of telling people, just don't go into it looking for handouts because you do good things, or because you're a good person. Like, that's not how it works. And it may seem kind of harsh, but I would rather give them the reality of things will happen, and you've got to be prepared. You've got to be prepared. You've got to be prepared. So I would say, yes, the financial thing of just saving money, put it away, live a lifestyle that you can maintain. Don't try to go overboard, but also stay creative. Find a way to stay creative, delegate as best as you can. Kat, you've helped me with that. But just delegate as best as you can and stay creative, because in creativity is where doors will open, and you'll find more means of funding. You'll find more means of opportunity.
Fantastic. You all have some solid advice. I want to say thank you so much for being with us here today. This is Minority Enterprise Development Week, so happy Minority Enterprise Development Week. But also, your experiences, your advice, your stories that you shared with us today really are the handbook for the next person or the next business owner or the next superstar that we're going to see out here. So just know that this is highly appreciated, and I'm sure that the people hearing this and listening to these stories and advice will be taking a lot away from it. So thank you again. Pass it over to Macklin.
I want to get one more thing I want to add.
Yes.
I want to let you guys know, and everybody else, that there is a program at Virginia Western Community College, and CCAP is free scholarship and finance available for a lot of minority students. And there are a lot of small 2 years or 6 month or a year program that formally get educated and go out and be an entrepreneur. And it's free. I really ask to take advantage. I'm in their foundation board, and there is a lot of fund available. So if you can encourage anybody who wants to get the education at Virginia Western Community College, please do so. It's a great program there, and it can be accessed via scholarship.
Fantastic. And Kirtesh, you're welcome to add that into our chat. I think Heather is taking some notes down so that we can get this information out as well. So thank you for sharing that. Education, getting well prepared. You all talked about that the entire time, getting prepared, going into business, forecasting, and being able to anticipate changes as they come. So definitely, we love all the resources. So Kirtesh, I always welcome those personally too, so feel free to send those out to me or put those on the chat. Macklin, I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kat. And I want to reiterate exactly what Kat said. We are so grateful that all of you were able to be here and just share your story, share your life, share a moment of your experience with us that you have honestly experienced in the past almost 3 years, but in an hour. And so this hour still means everything. And so we're just so grateful. We really, really appreciate you all. On behalf of the Roanoke Regional Small Business Development Center, we just thank you so much. If you are listening and if you are attending, we just want to remind you that we do offer absolutely free advising. We offer resources on our website, and we offer so many other things similar, like a guidebook. And you can find those things at roanoksmallbusiness.org. And you can find on that website, again, you can find our advising, you can find training workshops that you can sign up for like this one, but on many other topics such as government contracting, such as social marketing series with social media and working on video. I mean, it's a plethora of things. And so definitely go check out our website. Thank you so much, Amanda. She's posted it in the chat. You can click that website and sign up for another workshop or sign up to get matched with an advisor. And we would love to help you out. So again, thank you so much for attending our Minority Enterprise Development Celebration, COVID Era Lessons Learned. I am Macklin Mosley, your Minority Business Advisor. And this is Kat Pascal,
The Hispanic Business Advisor. So thank you all again and have a great rest of the night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
absolutely.